There we go. Thank you, and I'm happy to be here. I am indeed Ilmari Arnkil from Finland, and I would like to explain a little bit about what we do in terms of accessibility in the Finnish film industry. Firstly, a little bit about who I am. I work in the Finnish Film Foundation, which is basically the same thing as the Polish Film Institute. We give government subsidies to movie production, distribution, exhibition, and so on. And my responsibility is exhibitors, distributors, and film festivals. And this includes the accessibility supports that we give. And quickly about Finland, it's a rather small country of 5.6 million people. Last year's figures include 188 theaters and 383 screens. The admissions haven't really recovered from COVID quite yet. We're about 15% from where we used to be. But the interesting numbers here are that the average ticket price is 13 euros, and that's the average ticket price, so it goes much higher than that. It's not very accessible at all, and it's constantly talked about. Another interesting number here is the domestic films market share, which means how many percent of the movie tickets are sold to Finnish movies. And that's 23%, and that's pretty good for any European country, unless you're France. And it used to be even higher for many years, but it dipped slightly last year. And one thing to remember here is that foreign language films are not dubbed, they are indeed subtitled, unless they are children's movies, in which case they are always dubbed. And a little bit about the foundation. It's nothing compared to our bigger brothers and sisters in other countries, but you can see a little bit of the numbers here. Most of the money goes to production and script writing, screenwriting, and distribution here includes, and exhibition, they include the accessibility supports. And then there's a little bit of money going to international promotion of Finnish movies. And I suppose everybody here is very familiar with the terminology that we're talking here about audio description and special subtitles and induction loops and so on. But I figured I would explain these in the context of what we do. So in Finland, audio description really comes in two forms. We've got audio description at home, which is usually done through a VOD service where you can just select your audio track and it will either include or not include the audio description. And it's very, very much available in the national broadcasters' selection of Finnish movies and TV shows. But not everything has an audio description. And in the cinema, what we do is we have an app that's called Movie Reading. It's an Italian application. And there are other applications out there, and I'm not even sure if this is the best, but it's the one that we've ended up using. And every distributor, basically, if they have an audio description, they put it into this one service. So if you use it, you have only one app that you install. And you have it on your smartphone, and as you go into the movies, you put on some headphones, and it syncs up the audio description to the movie's audio track. So it's always moving along at the same pace. And you could use this at home with a DVD, but there's an issue with frame rate. If you have 25 frames per second or 24 frames per second, they go out of sync at some point, and that causes a little bit of problems that we haven't been able to resolve. But for the most part, people, I believe, prefer to use an audio description that comes with the content. So it doesn't come from an application or your phone. And I suppose the ease of use is the reason for that. And then the subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing is everybody, I assume, is familiar with it. We include them in our movies that go to the cinemas that are Finnish movies, and of course the same subtitles can then be used in any other release window. The induction loop is something that we also give support to, and if you don't know what it is, it's something that helps you if you have a hearing aid and you're in a room like this, and it kind of syncs to the links to the audio of that. So, what do we do at the foundation that can increase accessibility? The thing is that the Finnish film industry is not very big, and it relies very much on public money, and that public money comes from the Finnish Film Foundation. So we are in a very unique position to basically use requirements in our subsidies and incentives to get the results that we want from the Finnish film industry. And we're using this leverage to make sure that accessibility is not, and it doesn't get neglected, it's not forgotten. And we found that unless we do this, it basically doesn't get done. So we kind of have to push a little, but we also try to reward so that it's not only, we're not only, you know, penalizing companies that don't do it. But before we had these different subsidy schemes that I'm about to talk about, there was this working group called the Film Accessibility Forum. And this included, it brought together people from distribution, exhibition, NGOs that were working with people with visual impairments and deaf and hard of hearing people, and of course the Finnish Film Foundation. And this group got together and basically created this one document that tells cinema owners how they can create an accessible cinema, or how they can turn their existing cinema into a very accessible place. And it basically deals with accessibility from different viewpoints, and it's something that's available to all cinemas. Unfortunately, it's not available in Polish or English, but we've got it in Finnish. And we also, in the foundation, we use it to evaluate cinemas. How accessible are they? It's basically like this. It's a document that we go back to a lot. And the great thing about it is that it's made in agreement with the whole industry. Everybody's sort of on the same page. This is what we want this is what we talk about when we talk about accessible cinema. And it goes even so far as having this information template for cinemas. It's basically a bunch of text and information that any cinema can take from the document directly and put it on their website. And it includes all the basic information that any cinema needs to communicate to people about accessibility. And I found that it's a very good thing to have, because the cinemas usually, they have problems communicating about the things that they already are doing and things that they would want to do. And like I said before, we also have direct funding. We have a separate support scheme for audio description and subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing. It's money that any distributor can apply for. And another scheme that we have directly for this is accessibility renovations for cinemas. And this can basically be anything that they can think up. But the most important and costly things are usually wheelchair lifts, because they are very expensive and they wouldn't be able to purchase them on their own. And like I said earlier, the subsidy requirements in other support schemes and the ease of communication are also part of the program. But now I'd like to describe in more detail how it all works. So when we're talking about audio description and subtitles, when a distributor wants money for the distribution and marketing of a Finnish movie, in order to apply, they have to ensure that they have made or are in the process of making an audio description for that movie, as well as the special subtitles. So they cannot apply for the money unless they're working towards these things. And when they get the support, or if they get the support, they can also apply for funding to cover the costs of the audio description and subtitles. And that can be covered up to 7,000 euros, which usually covers the complete expense. But if it's more expensive than that, then we cover it up to that. But it can be the 100% of all expenses, so it's a pretty good program. And I found that on average, it costs around 6,000 euros to create the packages. And this is for all the windows, theatrical, VOD, DVD, what have you. You can use it anywhere. And they're actually required to make it available anywhere they publish the movie, if it's possible. I know a lot of VOD platforms do not have support for audio description or special subtitles, and that's another headache for us, but we're getting there. At least they are very popular with the national broadcasters' VOD service, because they create their own, but they also use everything that we create. So it becomes a pretty big library of movies that have these services available. But then it doesn't stop there, because now we have the audio description and the subtitles, but we also want cinemas to use them. And this is where the regional cinema support comes in. It's a program where cinemas that are a little bit smaller, up to 3 screens at the moment, they can apply for funding, and they are given a score. And when they send in their application, they are reviewed usually by me, and I look at their catalog of films, how varied is it, and some other figures, and what kind of film culture they do, but also how accessible they are. And I use the guide that I mentioned earlier to evaluate their accessibility. And one of the factors here is, do they use these subtitles? And do they communicate about these things on their websites? And if they don't, they get a lower score and they get less money. But if they do all this work, then they get more money. So that's the incentive part. And of course, they can apply for the money themselves, and it goes up to 70% of the costs if they apply money for, let's say, a wheelchair ramp or widening the entryway so that you can get in with a wheelchair, or anything they can think of. It's not really limited to any list of improvements that are predetermined. It's anything they can think of and that makes sense to us. And again, when the regional cinema support is handed out, we not only look at the program, we also look at the cinema building. Have they done anything to it? Is it accessible or not? And I think this is the key takeaway here, that funding is not enough. It's not enough to just give money. You have to do things to make the audio descriptions and the subtitles actually reach the people that they are intended for. And this is where we try to make it very easy for the cinemas to communicate. And the website template is one thing, but there's another thing coming up that we're working on right now. And we sort of started with just the funding part, and we found that the figures were not going anywhere. People are very accustomed to certain patterns. Users don't go to the cinema and expect that there's an audio description because they've never been informed about it. Or even if they have, they haven't been told where to download the app and how it works and so on and so forth. So there's a lot to communicate. And from here we go to our future goals. And the first one here is what I've been talking about, that the audio description is still used at home for the most part, and which is obviously a very good thing. It's very popular, but we really hope that it would also be used in the cinema to bring people into the cinema buildings. And for this, we've been planning our own DCP trailer, which is, does everybody know what a DCP is? Yeah, all right, so it's basically what used to be film. So we're planning this, maybe, we don't know how long it's going to be, maybe like 30 seconds or something, that would give like this information trailer, basically, that you can put in front of a movie that explains what audio description is and what these subtitles are and how can you access them. And the target audience for this DCP trailer is not the people who would benefit from these services, but their friends, their family members, who can then pass on that information. People who are basically already going to the cinema, who love cinema, and they can then tell their friends that you can come too. They've got these amazing new technologies that help you come to the cinema. So this is the next step, basically. And yeah, the other problem is that the information about these services is really scattered. It's all over the place. There's different NGOs that talk about different things, and we have our own things, but we're trying to pool everything into one website, which would be also mentioned in the trailer. So if you want more information, there's just one place where you need to go, and that place would have it all. And the third one here, it's a minor thing, but the induction loops, they're not very expensive. It's something that could easily be installed basically anywhere, and it doesn't take up a lot of money. So we've been thinking about making that a required thing for any cinema renovation that we support, that it would be part of that package. So, I'm all ready for questions, if you've got them. I think we have time. There's one over here. And if you have a question, please speak into the microphones so that the translators can hear.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very impressive that it can work like that, that the Finnish Film Foundation can really govern and coordinate the process. It sounds very... Also, what really impressed me was the fact that you not only punish, but also make incentives and encourage people. So my first question is, what is the percentage? How many of distributors that apply for funds get it? And the second question is, and it's more about your last slide about issues. We also see the same issues here, that accessibility is just one part of audience development in cinemas, as far as audience with different needs is concerned. So I wonder, is there any thought or a place for audience development in local cinemas? Do you also consider that, apart from informing about accessibility? Thank you.
Thanks. I'll try to answer the first question first. The question was, what's the percentage of distributors who get the support? If you're talking about the support for audio description and subtitles, it's basically anybody who applies for it. So, but this might sound amazing, but it's a small country, so that means about 25 movies per year on average get that support. But basically anybody who has so far applied for it has gotten the money. So even movies that we haven't supported before, if they make the effort and actually do the audio description, we have supported them. And but yeah, the numbers have been going up and down because of COVID. But on average, it's about 25 movies a year, and that's almost all of the Finnish feature films released cinematically in theatrically in Finland every year. So it's a pretty good situation. And the second question was about audience development. Well, it's kind of baked into the regional cinema support. They can basically apply funding for projects, but it's not project money. It's something that they can show that they've done this, and it might increase their points, and we might reward them that way. But we do not have a separate support scheme for audience development. But I know that they do have, in Sweden at least, there is a support scheme for research. And I understand that I might be wrong. We might have to get somebody from Sweden over here. That cinemas can also apply for research money, and that money can be used for audience development. But I might be wrong.
I would like to ask about the VOD platforms and the mandatory showing of audio description and subtitles. In Poland, quite a lot of Polish films get audio descriptions, get their subtitles, but they get lost on the way to the VOD platforms. So could you please tell us, how do you manage to bypass this path, and are there any additional regulations in the law, or how did you do it?
Well, I wish I could take the credit for making it happen, but the situation is that our national broadcaster is also one of the major funders of cinema. So, and they are very interested in audio description and subtitles. And because of their motivation, they include them in everything that they release. If it's made by them or if it's made by us, it doesn't matter. And they are very happy that we are also supporting. Because like I said, it's 25 movies on average per year. I don't know their numbers, but I would assume that they maybe do just as much. But it's also TV series that they do. But they have an amazing platform and really good support for it. But the more commercial platforms, it's not that easy. I've been talking to them, but unfortunately, they always say that, yeah, we're looking into it, but nothing really happens. So that's very unfortunate. But I think the happy thing is that most movies go to the national broadcaster's VOD service anyway. So that's a very good place for VOD. And something that I maybe wasn't clear about, we're talking about Finnish movies that get this audio description and the subtitles, but we don't have it for movies that are dubbed, like the children's movies. It's something that is constantly asked for, but we just haven't had the funding for it yet. But it's something that I'm hoping that maybe one day we could also expand to. There was another question over there.
Can a Finnish distributor of non-national film apply for the support? Or are there any other solutions for this kind of, the distributors of this kind of content in Finland?
That would be a foreign film that's imported into Finland, correct? Yeah, so unfortunately we have a support scheme for importing movies, but that does not include audio description or the special subtitles. We only demand that they are subtitled into Finnish and Swedish, which are the two national languages that we have, but it doesn't require them to make a special subtitles.
So maybe there are other solutions for those kind of distributors in Finland, like they can apply in other foundations or maybe organizations dedicated to.
Not that I'm aware of, unfortunately. But it's like the only conversations that I've had around this topic had to do with children's movies, because there's of course it would be very nice to get those kids into the cinemas as well. And we also have Finnish movies that are not in Finnish, and they might be in a different language and maybe multiple languages. And it always raises the question, like, is it? Can you make sense of it if it's like 5 different languages in the dialogue and then the audio description on top? And the message that I've gotten from the NGOs is that they would like those movies to be within the audio description service, even though they are not in Finnish. So I would assume that there is a demand for it, but it might be a little bit lower than for Finnish language movies. I wouldn't know because I'm not an expert of audio description myself.
Hello. Hi, Ilmari. I have a question. If big cinema chains are included in the supporting scheme also, do they do accessible film screenings in Finland?
The bigger chains are not, well, they have smaller cinemas, some of them, and those cinemas can benefit from the support scheme. But the really big ones, they're not included. But this is going to sound really weird, but we have a very monopolized situation both in TV and in cinemas. So we have one big chain that basically controls 60% of the theatrical market. And luckily for us, they take these things pretty seriously. So they actually have a pretty good program of these special subtitles. And of course, you can use the audio description anywhere in any screening. But we're kind of very fortunate that they take it very seriously and that the national broadcaster takes it very seriously. So I guess it comes from, it's a very small country, very small communities. Everybody knows each other very personally. So it's very easy to talk about these things and move these things forward.
Chyba teraz słychać. Będzie to ostatnie pytanie, bo już musimy kończyć.
Okay, sorry, it will be the last question.
Oh, there's even more hands over there.
Okay, so maybe I will give it to someone. I will pass my question.
Dziękuję. Thank you very much. I am a blind person and I am very interesting if you have any checking system for quality of accessibility in audio descriptions or subtitles.
That's a very good question. We got some complaints very early on that the audio descriptions were not very good. And what we did is we gave feedback directly to the companies that had made them and the companies that had paid for them. And then we established a feedback channel which is organized by one of the NGOs that which is included in the information template that goes into the websites of the cinemas. There's a link that if you are unhappy with the quality of the audio description, please give feedback through this channel. And apparently they get some feedback, but it's not that much. And I would hope that there would be more feedback because we're kind of in the dark about how well they are received. And since we are not experts, we cannot really be the judge of it. And this is why we wanted this NGO who are the experts to sort of manage the feedback. And we talked to them and listened to the feedback, but I think the quality has improved after the feedback that we have given to the production companies.